Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today I am joined by Joey. Haven't seen Joey here in a while, but it's great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
I wasn't planning on doing a show today. I saw all the posts earlier that it was Machen Amic's like 52nd birthday, and I was like, "Oh, that's lovely, that's nice." And I thought that's going to be the extent of today's news. And although I have been like trying to find any clips whatsoever of David Lynch in The Fabelmans, because I recently saw a video of Steven Spielberg talking about his meeting with John Ford and how he met John Ford. And I think that scene is recreated in the movie. And so I was like trying to find any clips. I thought maybe because with the Oscar nominations coming up, we'll maybe get some clips and stuff. I have a feeling that David Lynch is going to secure a Best Supporting Actor nomination for like his. If they can give it to, I can't remember the woman from Shakespeare in Love who played the Queen for 7 minutes. I think Judi Dench or something, right? I think that David Lynch could. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah,
to see
I was going to say, is he in it that much? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
It just takes one scene to be nominated, apparently, for supporting actor or actress. So it's all. I have a feeling, fingers crossed. Anyway, so mind my own business, perusing social media, trying to stay off Elon's, hate list. It's apparently just like
hard these days.
He's all of a sudden people that I follow or used to or whatever, vice versa. Nobody's following each other anymore. All I see are Marjorie Taylor Greene's posts like in my feed, like everywhere. I don't even follow her. Anyway, so this post came across my feed today from Spacey Ghost. Says, my great uncle, Angelo Badalamenti, has crossed the barrier onto another plane of existence between his work, and we're going to get into his work in a little bit. Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Cabin Fever, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, plethora of others, plus his relationships and collaborations with David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Nina Simone, Julie Cruz, Isabella Rossellini, Anthrax, Dokken, Eli Roth, especially David Lynch. He's always been the most interesting man in the world to me, a true musical and artistic inspiration for me, and countless others. Stayed true to his roots and family, never leaving North Jersey for LA, not to mention the casual but mind-blowing stories he never ran out of. He will truly be missed by many. And then he says, who has lived a good life has a good death. So I took that at face value. And so I went to the page that I admin on Facebook, the Twin Peaks Worldwide page that I currently admin on. I come and go. Sometimes I go like 3 years without posting on that page. And sometimes I come back and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. So anyway, I posted today, rest in peace, Angelo Badalamenti. And I posted a picture of Angelo and this post, right? It blew up like crazy, as you can imagine, because nobody's expecting to see that on their feed. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's terrible. It's so sad. And then you have the other half, which is like, I want, 3 forms of, of proof, verification. Where's your driver's license? Show me that you are who you are. Whatever. It's just a nightmare because like I'm just gonna post rest in peace, Angelo Badalamenti for fun on that page, and let's just see what happens. We had people that were saying like, I'm unsubscribing from this page because this is fake news. So I kind of was like, okay, well, I don't know. So I made a little comment saying, listen, if this is not true, I will come back and amend this post or delete it or whatever that. And people are like, you should have verified it before you even posted it, screaming at me. I'm like, oh my God, you can never win with some of these people.
No.
So I sat on it. I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. And then the Museum of Natural Music posted, Welcome to Twin Peaks did an article saying that this is now confirmed by several family members. Mm-hmm. And then it just bloody disgusting, Fangoria, because they're coming at it from the Elm Street Cabin Fever angle. Obviously Twin Peaks as well, but definitely, the horror angle. And then all of a sudden, of course, Yahoo and IndieWire and everyone's just coming.
The
So it's like, okay, so like it's. I mean, I was really sad because I kind of was hoping, as I'm sure we all were, that it was fake.
I hope so.
But why would a family member post something like this, right? So I was very, very sad to see that it was real. But at the same time, though, I was like, hey, like, trust in my posts here. I'm not going to just post something to make you guys feel like trashed on a Monday afternoon, So I think you found out. I think you found out from
that
one of
post.
My posts on Instagram.
Yeah, your post
on Instagram.
Yeah. I just saw the picture, and I had no doubt, and then I went to look other places, and then that's when I started seeing all the trickle in and a bunch of other outlets posting it. So
yeah. So what was your reaction? I mean, he was 85 years old.
I mean, the guy, I guess his great niece said, lived a good life. I like the little nod to New Jersey in there. Because my home state, but yeah, I mean, I've always said that Twin Peaks is that show is half the music. What makes that show great? The music is 50%, if not more, of what makes that show great. A lot of other Lynch works that he worked on, the music is half that story. So it got me. I listen to the music all the time. Like the theme was my my alarm clock in the morning for a long time. So it's sad. It's like this music has been such a deep part of all our lives for such a long time.
Yeah, there's a lot we're gonna get to, but there's just a couple posts that I do want to share. I don't know any of these people, but I saw these online and I thought they'd be worth sharing. Calvin says, when a hero like Angelo Badalamenti passes, everyone gets to hear some of the greatest sounds like it was their first time again, like kind of going back and re-listening to the music.
Right.
If there's a soundtrack to another world and a bridge between life and beyond, we are all hearing it now. Rest in peace to a legend. I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty accurate there. This is kind of obviously it's all sad, but we have David Lynch himself through Sabrina, I think, posted this picture, and I've never seen this picture before. And it's just kind of like, wow, I mean, it's just, again, we'll get to a lot of his work, but
they both look like overjoyed in this, by the way.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong. I love the vast majority of David Lynch's work. Okay. There's very, very, very little of it where I say not really a fan of that.
Sure.
I'm talking about 98% of his work. I really love. That being said, I love his short films. I really love Eraserhead. I love The Elephant Man. I have grown to like Dune more and more, especially as I get to see it in the 4K presentations and things like that. Wow, you know what I mean? Like when I used to watch it on Panascan VHS, I wasn't all of that impressed.
You can feel the scale now.
Right, man. Right. But I will say this. Blue Velvet, when he collapsed, first of all, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but David Lynch really wanted Shostakovich music for all of Blue Velvet.
That's right.
And they couldn't afford it. It was such a low budget, they couldn't afford it. And he thought Blue Velvet was done. He thought his movie was over. And then a friend of a friend said, oh, here's this guy, Angelo Badalamenti. He can help you with putting together the Isabella Rossellini music numbers for the nightclub. And so much so that you can see Angelo Badalamenti in the nightclub scene on the piano behind Isabella Rossellini. So he was like, but that was going to be it. He was only going to help with that. And when they lost the ability to use Shostakovich, Angelo says, well, I can write you little things here and there. And I will say this, that until he met with Angelo Badalamenti, David Lynch was like a great film artist, but he hadn't made I hate to say this because I mean, again, you could say Eraser, but I don't think a real Lynch film was made until Blue Velvet, like what we know as like a David Lynch film.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that era. There's the Eraserhead all the way leading up to Blue Velvet, and that's where I feel like
that's one part. That's like the early work of Lynch. But once you get to Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Wild at Heart, On the Air, Hotel Room, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, The Straight Story, that is what we think of as a David Lynch film. So I mean, it's I feel like removing Angelo Badalamenti from the equation now. I don't know. I mean, I know David Lynch works with all types of musicians, but Badalamenti cemented the music and sound. I mean, I know Alan Split and David Lynch does the sound, but you know what I mean? He is the you take Badalamenti's work out of Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, it's good, but it's the music that takes it over.
Yeah, it's like I said, that the music is, if not half, more than half of what makes those things great. I'll stand by that every day.
I mean, David Lynch always talks about it's picture and sound. It's picture and sound.
Right.
Okay. Well, he delivers the picture and he does a lot of the sound work. But in terms of the music, I mean, yes, David Lynch, oh my God, it's so hard to talk about this because David Lynch does a lot of the music. But David Lynch, as a musician, as great as he is, could never do what Angelo Badalamenti brought to the work.
And he knows that. He well knows that. I don't think he's, disillusioned to that. He knows that.
Not at all. I'm just saying that the sad thing about this is if David Lynch goes on and let's say he makes 2 or 3 more movies or does another series or I don't know, whatever he does next, without Badalamenti there, or maybe using tracks that we've never heard before,
right?
Is it still a David Lynch film now that the sound is gone?
I mean, maybe we go back a little bit to the pre-Badalamenti era where he works with his other guys on sound, but this era, Blue Velvet to I guess The Return, is over for all intents and purposes.
We are now in the
post-Badalamenti.
I guess we could say the third stage, but I always felt the third stage kind of started with Inland Empire. I mean, even though Badalamenti did contribute to stuff in Inland Empire and The Return, obviously he did stuff in The Return. The Return, we all know, was not music dominant it was. So I felt like David Lynch was already
in terms of like composition and score. I mean, we had all those, Roadhouse, which ate up.
But I'm saying in terms of the Badalamenti stuff, I mean, it's not like it was in season 1 and 2 and Fire Walk With Me, where it's literally wall to wall music all the way through. There was a lot of silences. And again, that's not a complaint, but it felt like that was kind of the post, like that was like the third stage. Now we're kind of in stage 3.5 where it's like, okay, what's now going to happen? And if you saw David Lynch's weather report today, guys, he didn't announce any of this, but he knew obviously because he said there is no new music today. So he didn't say, he didn't say, my dear friend Angelo has passed away. He let us know in his David Lynch way. And then we found out like 6 hours later. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, there's so many thoughts and feelings and it's hard to articulate because as David Lynch has always said, like you can't articulate music with words because it's music, But I mean, all the styles of music Badalamenti wasn't like just doing one type of music. He was doing all kinds of music. He was,
Black Dog runs at night. Black Dog.
There's that, but there's the jazz music, obviously. There's the full-on orchestration of Blue Velvet, which sounds like a classical Hollywood movie score. Yep. Wild at Heart's all over the place. Fire Walk With Me is so all over the place, right? But then you look at Lost Highway, Hotel Room, On the Air. But then take away from David Lynch's work, we have Tough Guys Don't Dance, which, by the way, I think you can. That is now a special edition Blu-ray if you have not picked it up. He did Christmas Vacation.
That's my entry point to Badalamenti when I was like the first thing I've ever watched that he did the score for. I'm sure.
He did this amazing film in the mid 90s, which just now got a 4K called The City of Lost Children, which is extraordinary.
I haven't seen it.
Let's just here. I just want to go through a little bit of his IMDb page because it's an incredible amount of work here. I mean, he had done. Let's see. He had done. I mean, just some TV, and then it's like 8 years goes by, and he does Blue Velvet. Then he does Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors, which is incredible score, right? Then he does Tough Guys Don't Dance and Weeds, which I believe that has a Blu-ray coming out from Umbrella out of Australia, which is region free. Cousins, which I believe came because of Isabella Rossellini's participation in that movie. Christmas Vacation, followed up by Wild at Heart, then followed up by Paul Schrader's The Comfort of Strangers, which if you've not seen that, that's on Criterion. Comfort of Strangers is a weird film, of course, but it's great. Then we go right into, obviously his Lynch commercials with Calvin Klein.
I don't want to skip over it because if you have not seen these are also great. The Calvin Klein Obsession, those are also fantastic. If you have,
which is where Lynch met Heather Graham.
Oh, on those? Oh, I guess that makes sense.
And so when you see it, it's kind of like early Annie Blackburn stuff. Industrial Symphony, of course, which ties into Wild at Heart and Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fire Walk With Me. Then On the Air, Hotel Room, Anthrax, Black Lodge, which I'm sure Jeremiah is in the chat going, that's an awesome, I don't even know that music, but that I'm sure everyone loves that. City of Lost Children, great, right? Then he does Profiler, the TV series, Lost Highway, Arlington Road, which I didn't even remember he did the music for that, so I'll have to go back and look at that. Straight Story, Holy Smoke, the Jane Campion film, then Mulholland Drive, right? The Beach, he did Danny Boyle's The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. Then Mulholland Drive, the movie, Mulholland Drive, the TV movie is one thing. Then he did Secretary, right? Autofocus, the Paul Schrader one with Greg Kinnear. Cabin Fever, he did that as a favor to Eli Roth because Eli Roth was at the time David Lynch's assistant. And we do have a bunch of like davidlynch.com stuff. Then let's see here. Yeah, Very Long Engagement, which is a follow-up to City of Lost Children, and a bunch of special feature stuff. He did the Dominion score for Paul Schrader, which is The Exorcist 4. I remember he did the Dark Water movie with Jennifer Connelly, The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage, right? I mean, and here's you ready for that? Yeah, here's one thing, Joey, that I had no idea, and I've seen it a million times, and I had no idea. He did the entire Inside the Actor Studio opening.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Wow.
I didn't know that either. So, I mean, take a look at his IMDb. Check out the movies you haven't seen. I mean, obviously, he worked with Paul Schrader and David Lynch the most. The guy is, I mean, and what's so interesting and strange was that he seemed even more secretive than David Lynch.
Yeah.
Because he never really kind of came out and was like, I'm Angelo Badalamenti, and I'm, it's like you were lucky if you caught like a little interview snippet somewhere with him. And it's usually sitting next to David or talking to, like, there's a whole thing about the Julie Cruz album they did a little promo for. And obviously there's some stuff with the Criterion, what they did Fire Walk With Me. So it's hard to find stuff.
Always kept to himself and
wanted
to just be a regular guy. Yeah.
He's one of those guys like Al Strobel, who we just talked about a little bit ago in a previous episode, because he just passed away, unfortunately, as well. Nobody has a bad thing to say about this man. And I'm not disappointed by that. I'm just saying, like, nobody has anything bad to say about him. Like, he's one of the good guys. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He just wanted to make his music. He worked with great people. I mean, he gave him his best. It seemed like he was somebody that just constantly put his all in the stuff he made, no matter the size of the project.
He gave 110%. he never phoned it in. Like,
No.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Dream Warriors, like you could see that on paper. Right? I got to do Nightmare on Elm Street 3. It's one of the great scores of horror films. It's incredible. If you listen to what the kind of directions that David Lynch would give him for the music, and then you hear the music that Badalamenti gave him, it's like Badalamenti understood him on a level that like most people would be like, what? What are you talking about? A girl's hiding behind some trees, and
I love that video. I love that. If you have not seen, I'm sure most people here have seen that video, but if you haven't, look for Badalamenti and David Lynch composing the music or whatever. It's unforgettable. I think about that video all the time.
Right. And Criterion, of course, they did a post about him as well. And I think we're gonna, it seems likely they're gonna put out a 4K, A Fire Walk with Me soon.
Yeah, that's probably coming soon.
They're also talking. I mean, they haven't announced it, but they've done enough posts where I firmly believe they're going to release The Return as a 4K set. But I also think they may just go hog wild and release the entire Twin Peaks saga on 4K in a box set.
I sure hope so. That would be beautiful.
I have a feeling that's coming. And I wonder if, since there's still time, they're probably going to start putting it on featurettes about Angelo Badalamenti for the Return and maybe Inland Empire as well, because there's time to get that stuff on there.
Mm-hmm. I hope so.
And then since David Lynch is hell-bent on having every one of his films released by Criterion, and I heard that way back like in 2014. I talked to somebody at Criterion and said, no, David Lynch really wants all his films to be released by Criterion. So I have a feeling that when they get around to releasing Wild at Heart, that's where the Industrial Symphony will kind of come in terms of the bonus features, or they may just stick that in the Twin Peaks set, since so much of the music came.
They can put that could go either place, but I mean, I hope they do everything soon. I really want Inland Empire at the very least.
Oh, I think that's.
I know they were doing the whole tour and they put it in theaters for a minute, but.
Inland Empire is coming. I think that they're probably just finalizing how it's gonna. Yeah. Are they gonna go with the Blu-ray, or are they gonna go just crazy and just put it on 4K?
I don't know.
Is that have they ever done that before? Have they ever gone from literally a camcorder tape to 4K before?
I'm sure their engineers or whoever's working on it had a lot on their hands to upscale and clean up all that digital grain and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's anyway. So there's obviously there's David Lynch projects still coming down the pike from Criterion. But I have a feeling there's going to be some Angelo Badalamenti stuff in there. I was shocked. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked. All our heroes in film right now are getting older. I mean, you look at David Lynch and Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and James Cameron and Francis Ford Coppola. And, I mean, they're all in their 70s and 80s now. This should not be a surprise. And yet, don't let me forget about Martin Scorsese, who, directed The Wolf of Wall Street at like 72 or something like that,
Yeah.
Which is like, you watch that movie and you go, my God, that feels like, Paul Thomas Anderson when he was 25. I mean, it's our heroes are getting older.
It's going to start.
And yet it still feels like a sucker punch every time. I mean, I don't know. It's like we've been having a lot of Twin Peaks deaths over the last few years, right? I think it began with Miguel Ferrer and then Peggy Lipton, and then and then up until recently we had Al Strobel, and it always is like so sad, right? It's really sad. It's like, oh my God, that's just one more piece of the Twin Peaks family that's gone. I think you can make the case, as we've talked about, how essential Badalamenti is to Lynch's work at this for the last 40 years or so. He's one of the big ones of the Twin Peaks family. Like, it's like Kyle, Angelo Badalamenti, Mark Frost, David Lynch. Those are, Sheryl Lee, of course, as well. But like, those are the five of the biggies.
The pillars, yeah.
And we just lost one of the table's legs.
It's a big table. A big leg, I mean.
It is. It's a huge leg because I don't care. Okay, watch Twin Peaks on mute. In fact, somebody should take the Twin Peaks pilot and pull the music out, and let's watch it without any music.
Well, the exercise I like on social media is when people take Twin Peaks music and put it in other shows, completely alters the tone of the whole show. Like I've seen it put on Seinfeld clips, on like Lost clips and stuff like that. And it just elevates anything they put that music on. It changes it. It molds it. It's just, there's not that many things that I feel like can do that.
There's an experiment that I did with my own film that I think is worthy to mention because of, let's say, season 1, season 2. I don't care how great those actors were in season 1, and they are great. I mean, they nail those performances, right? You look at like Dane Ashbrook and Mitch Amick in the pilot when they're in the car and there's like, I think Norm is onto us, right? Mm-hmm. They're great performances. They are playing Shelley Johnson and Bobby Briggs to perfection. But that jukebox music underneath them, right, is what takes their performances over the top.
Yes.
Just like when they're driving in the car 100%. and the cop car passes them and then they take a swig from the liquor flask and then you hear the do 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 do. You know what I mean? It's like, and she's like, it's happy hour in France. Come on, cowboy, light my fire. I'm sorry, that scene does not work. I mean, it works as a scene with them acting, but that music is everything. And it's just like Lynch knew how to take Badalamenti's music and like, slow it down, dip it down, bring up another track, merge the tracks together. As you know,
without that music, they're dorky teenagers, but with the music, they're cool. They're cool for all. Like they could say stuff like that, and it'll come off like natural, like they're being kind of like coy about it, and give it kind of like this air of like
it's like
I don't know.
Bobby staying up on, again in the pilot, staying up on his car outside Donna's house, doing the dance on the
right.
It doesn't work without the music, right? And don't forget, without Badalamenti, there is no Julie Cruz coming in to David Lynch's work. He brought Julie Cruz in because they could not afford Song of the Siren for Blue Velvet, which he later used in Lost Highway. So they brought in Julie Cruz to do a quick, in one afternoon, Mysteries of Love. David Lynch wrote some lyrics. They recorded it in one afternoon, had Mysteries of Love. Then
I didn't know that.
They brought her over, obviously, for Twin Peaks, for the pilot, and then, of course, Industrial Symphony. I mean, obviously, he's moved away from Julie Cruz over the years, and obviously she passed away too, unfortunately. But like for a period of time, from 86 to 92, it was David Lynch, Badalamenti, because Alan Split died right at the time of Blue Velvet, Angelo Badalamenti, and Julie Cruz. They were the trifecta of the Lynch feeling from 86 to 92. We're talking 6 years. They nailed that one part before Lynch went to LA and made his LA trilogy,
right?
With the Straight Story in between. And don't even get me started on the Straight Story, which is like, I mean, you just saw it recently a couple of years ago. I don't care how much you love Badalamenti's music and all of David Lynch's films. When you see the Straight Story, you go, I don't know, this might be David Lynch's best movie. It's hard.
Because that movie, I mean, a lot of the times, like Badalamenti's meeting David Lynch where he is, and bringing some of that story up a little bit with the music. I think with Straight Story, they met each other, and it just like molded perfectly. You had the beats in the film, and then the music, and they kind of, with other stuff, I feel like it's like he's like pushing up with the music a little bit, or bringing things back. But I feel like Straight Story, they both were on it.
Right. And then you feel that kind of carry over into Mulholland Drive as well. I mean, it's a different movie, obviously, yes. But in terms of they feel like the engine is going again. And like, we're moving together as one unit again. I think there was a little bit of stop and starts with On the Air and Hotel Room and Lost Highway. I don't care how much you like that stuff. It's like there's a lot of stop starts because they were like trying to start a new series with the Hotel Room, didn't work out, and they tried to start On the Air, didn't work out. Then there was like 5 years that went by, and then they fell out with Julie Cruz, and then, or at least David Lynch did, and then they went into Lost Highway, which is a whole different thing because they brought in Trent Reznor and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, that one's different.
Right. So there was like, but when you got to the Straight Story and then Mulholland Drive, it felt like they were kind of coming back together again. I don't know. Obviously people are reacting like crazy in the chat.
Yeah.
Dethroner says, I'm so torn apart. Good to see you guys live for us to get together this day. I actually put out the call to a few other people in the community saying, hey, if you guys are available, you're free to, hop on, because I want to give you guys the chance to say what you think, because nobody else is doing this, right? I mean, we love David Lynch's work, and there's a lot of people out there who do as well, but a lot of people do, podcasts and recordings and stuff like that. Like, I'm known for doing little videos or the live streams. So I wanted to kind of bring us all together and do this. Brooklyn Ann reminds me of Badalamenti's cameo in Mulholland Drive, where he's trying to taste the cappuccino or the espresso, where he spits it into his napkin.
That's right.
And it's so funny because
I got to give him credit too. The guy was really funny on top of being super talented. Any time he made a cameo where he actually had stuff to do, he was always really funny.
But what's funny is that like he has the, obviously we recognize him, but like there's the scene later in the film in Mulholland Drive, or even in the pilot, where Adam is watching the actresses do the 50s song and everything, and then he goes, "This is the girl," and then another actor comes in and goes, "Excellent choice, Adam." But the guy is not Angelo Badalamenti, but he has the same round head. And so a lot of people out there thought that was the same character that spit out the espresso. Nur Inola says, playing a night of his music for live performance here in New Orleans. It's funny. It's like sometimes, like, I grew up listening to his music, as many of you guys did, and loved it. And then sometimes, like anything, you feel like you've overheard it enough, and then you go listen to other stuff, and then you kind of come back to stuff. When things like this happen, it's almost like, yeah, I'm pretty much going to be listening to his music for about a few weeks now. And not just necessarily Twin Peaks, but like, obviously we just listed a whole body of work here. If you've not even seen the teaser trailer for The City of Lost Children and heard his music, I actually used one of that piece for one of my Queen of Hearts picture montages. Because I was like, that music is so beautiful. And he was able to, with the music, like John Carpenter, I love John Carpenter, don't get me wrong, but he believes that his music should be like a carpet. Like, you don't know it's there, but it's supporting the scene. I get it. I love it. And it works. A lot of it works. Badalamenti was very much like, you knew his music was there.
It's a character, yeah.
It's a character in the movie, in the show. And it's like if you think of that scene in Wild at Heart when Marietta, the mom, is trying to entice Harry Dean Stanton to go follow her daughter, and all of a sudden when she goes down on the ground, and all of a sudden that song, The Cool Catwalk, comes in, and she kind of comes up and goes, ah! And it's like, and she starts slinking. And I remember a friend of mine who saw it in the theater, because I saw the movie initially I saw it 5 times in the theater. Yeah. A friend of mine leaned over the last time I saw it, and he goes, David Lynch, no. I mean, this is, again, we are 14 years old, right? Friend of mine who's 14 years old leans over to me and says, David Lynch sure knows when to bring in the right music, doesn't he? How, you know what I mean? Like, what, it's like, we were very cinema savvy back then, my God. But like, I couldn't believe it. Like in that middle of the scene, she's like, that is the most perfect music ever to bring in.
Because it's so dramatic, and then you have that like kind of jazzy, kind of the same thing he does with Twin Peaks with the jazz stuff, and it just like kind of, it doesn't pull you out, but it's just like completely left turn, and you're like, should I be laughing? Should I be horrified? Like what's going on?
Right. And Cool Catwalk works so well that I sometimes wonder, I go, was that like a rejected Twin Peaks music that they just fitted in? Because they were doing Wild at Heart. He shot, okay, contrary to what people say on the internet, he shot the pilot of Twin Peaks, then made Wild at Heart, then came back for season 1. So all this nonsense about he left season 2 to go make Wild at Heart, not true, because Wild at Heart premiered when season 1 was on the air. So how could he be making Wild at Heart during season 2? Anyway, that, people want to just create their own little narratives. So, anyway, it's just the right music at the right time. And I mean, obviously that's David Lynch knowing when to bring it in, bring it out. But
right.
But I mean, Joel Bacco, who does the Lost the movies, and he does the whole journey back to Twin Peaks videos. He said his favorite music of all time of Badalamenti I guess maybe in the Twin Peaks world, maybe of all time, is the moving through time music, which we hear in Fire Walk with Me when she's on the bed in the basement with Bobby, and then it takes it through her coming home and doing the cocaine on the bed, and then and all the way until the angel disappears from the picture. It's beautiful music. It's just, I mean, it's one of the, it's so, I hate to say this word because it's David Lynch, but it is so dreamy and mysterious, but sad and tragic. And it's like, Badalamenti, he's one of the greats. I mean, he just wasn't one of the greats. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm a fan of David Lynch, but like, he was able to go, how like Inception, they talk about we're going to be 7 layers down.
Yeah.
Like he knew how to do 7 layers down of music, where you could use the same music underneath Ed and Norma and then bring it in for another kid. Like you could interchange the music with people and bring out different elements of that person's character based off that music. It could be the same music.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, we always talk about Kubrick as well. And it's like, the more you see his work, the more you see in it. Well, the more you listen to Badalamenti's music, the more opportunities you see that you could use it.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah. I like that.
It's just, there's just, obviously one of my favorite ones of recent memory is when we saw The Missing Pieces and Norm and Ed are in the car and they listen to the saxophone version of the Fire Walk with Me theme. Not the full orchestration one that we get any credits, but just that moment, because you really feel the loneliness of them, even though they're together. They're parked in the middle of the woods, and it's like, it's supposed to be like
sad,
together, having a moment together, which is like we're enjoying this moment together, but then they're reminded of the sadness of their relationship, and that's what makes Norma talk about the we're one big crash or whatever. I forgot the line, but and that wasn't even in the script. That's completely ad-libbed, that whole scene.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's, I could go on and on. Anyway, Alan Cooper says Red Bats with Teeth from Lost Highway is quite a savage Badalamenti tune. I don't know that one just off the top, just hearing the title there. Nur and Nola says he wrote for Nina Simone early in his career. Yeah, I read about that earlier. I didn't know that until tonight, that he walked into Nina Simone's office and said, "Hey, I have some music I wrote for you." And I guess he sang it a cappella to her, and she goes, "Let's record it." And then they went and recorded it.
I did not know that. That's fantastic.
She didn't even know who he was.
Wow. Yeah, it guts.
Yeah. Cream Corn says, that's my favorite at Enormous scene. The music is so perfect with it. For a long time, that was like my number one missing piece scene, because I didn't expect it. I didn't expect much from that scene. I thought it'd be nice to see them together. And it was like, that was Twin Peaks. That whole little scene. It was just like, 2 minutes of absolute perfection. And obviously it didn't have to do with the lore stuff, so they had to cut stuff out. But I also thought, well, the whole film is trying to be not like Twin Peaks. So you can't really have the one Twin Peaks moment in there that way, because everyone would be like, hey, I want to go back to that, you know?
Yeah.
Brooklyn Ann says, I love that version, which is funny because I usually hate the sax. But I love it when Angelo or Pink Floyd uses it. So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, obviously people very, very sad. A lot of people R.I.P. Angelo. Brooklyn says, I really wanted to see Badalamenti collaborate with Goblin. Oh boy, that would have been something. Emery says Angelo was very versatile.
Yes,
absolutely. Obviously, I mean, we want to celebrate the man's life, but there is a part of me that goes, the world lost a bit of poetry tonight. There's just no doubt about it.
That music lives. He made it so that it just kind of lives. Like we just mentioned, you could put it in anything. You could use it in your own life, and it just moves and lives and breathes, and it fits.
It's one of those things where like people talk about like, oh, you know, I listen to the soundtracks all the time, like Twin Peaks, whatever like that, right? You should really listen to the Wild at Heart soundtrack Drive Around. It's fantastic. But anyway, drive around with the Twin Peaks music, and guess what? You're living in Twin Peaks when you're listening to that music. If you're driving around, what I mean. Right? Don't ever listen to the JFK soundtrack driving around. Okay, you will become paranoid and you'll think that MAGA is all around you, and it's horrible. Anyway, but if you listen to Badalamenti's music, I don't care what music, but especially because Mulholland Drive is a little creepy.
Yeah,
and Lost Highway has a lot of like source music. But if you listen to like, let's say, and Blue Velvet has a lot of jumps in it, so be careful of that one. But if you do Twin Peaks, obviously, in Fire Walk with Me, or if you go on YouTube, they have all these tracks of Badalamenti that has never been released. They're like, I think 250 tracks on YouTube right now of like, there's the season 2 tracks, which is like 2 hours long.
Oh,
then you get the unreleased tracks from season 2. Then there's the unreleased tracks of Fire Walk with Me. It just goes on and on. Because when I was doing because when I was doing my film, I was like, well, I'm looking for that kind of music, but it's not on that soundtrack. And all of a sudden I would find it somewhere here and there. And I mean, if you search for it, you'll find the stuff, but it's like, it's that guy recorded every variation of like, for instance, I did not know this. I mean, sometimes when something's right in front of my nose, I don't notice it. Right. Like, I had no idea, because I watched Twin Peaks for years, right? I had no idea that Caroline's theme is a reworked version of Laura Palmer's theme.
All right, now I want to have to go re-listen to it.
I had no idea until I started listening to it going, it is Laura's theme. So I'm just saying that, like, he would say, okay, I'm going to give it to you percussion, and then I'm going to give it to you in this jazz way, and then I'm going to give it to you the piano way. It's like, and I can give you fast piano, slow piano, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's the same tune, but depending on how he arranged it, it felt totally different.
Sometimes, I mean, my music theory is very sparse, but sometimes it seems like he doesn't even change keys for a lot of the different types. He just literally slows it down, and it completely modifies the mood, which I think is amazing without having to go into like, I mean, he changes keys within the song, but to go from, you know, a slow major to a fast major and still get it completely different, you know, tones and feelings and moods. It's wild to me. To have that kind of just innate skill, it seems.
Brooklyn Ann says, back in high school, my friends and I would get baked and play the Lost Highway soundtrack and make up stories of the music.
That's cool. It's a fun activity.
But see, I guess you're a little bit younger than me, because like I was doing that, let's say around Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, but not getting a big part, but that listening to the music and driving around. But
still do that.
You still get baked and listen to Lost Highway, drive around?
No, I mean I drive around and listen to Lost Highway.
Oh yeah,
I did.
I gotta go back and I managed at a movie theater when that movie came out, right? So for a while, Lost Highway, Straight Story, Mulholland Drive, like I got to see them early because we would get the prints early.
Nice.
And Lost Highway, I remember going. I still have the marquee thing for Lost Highway. And one of these days I'll probably sell that. I have all the stickers for Inland Empire that I got too at the time. But anyway, and I liked Lost Highway a lot. You know, I didn't love it, but I liked it. And and I've seen it many times, and I really need to go back and like. Now that I have it on the 4K Criterion, it's like I gotta go back and watch it. It's probably been about 10 years since I've seen it.
I bought the 4K and I watched it maybe a month ago, and it's beautiful. What they did with it is fantastic.
But I like all the deleted scenes.
No deleted. I mean, I don't know what. I don't know. The master is fantastic. I don't know what they did with the extras. Doesn't seem like there's much, but. I don't know. It's just it sounds great. It looks fantastic. I know that they made some slight changes to the tones, but I think it looks fantastic. And the grain is still in there. The film grain, it's gorgeous.
Wait, still they changed some of the color palette.
So from what I remember, some of the scenes it seems like they punched them up a little bit, and they. Some scenes that were colder, they made a little bit warmer, but it's subtle changes. So you really have to almost do like you have to remember what the.
I remember because I have the.
You'll remember me. I don't know. I don't always remember stuff like that, but I definitely noticed some scenes. I'm like this is way warmer than I remember it being. So they made some tweaks like that, but it's not so much where you're like whoa, this is completely different. But it changes the mood a little bit.
I remember because when Fire Walk With Me came out, right, and a lot of people were saying like, "Oh my God, David Lynch has just gone too dark with this film," right? And I always thought that like, did you watch Buffy and Angel?
I tried.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I remember you didn't.
I didn't. Never watched Angel. I saw some Buffy.
Well, what happened was there was seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Buffy, and then when season 4 happened, they split it with Angel, right? And so like half the story was in season 4 and half the story was in Angel season 1, right? And you had to watch them together to get the whole thing.
Right.
So like the tone felt a little bit off because it was like they took this kind of horror comedy edge and they made Buffy, at least for season 4, more of a comedy, and then they made the horror edge with Angel. So you had to see it together to get that combo, right? Well, I always felt that way with On the Air and Fire Walk With Me. I felt like they took Twin Peaks and split it in half, and all the comedy went to On the Air, and all the dark stuff went to Fire Walk With Me. So, but when you see Fire Walk With Me, as dark as that movie is, there is a glimmer of hope in that movie, right? There's James Hurley, there's the Angel. Okay,
right.
Lost Highway is when he really doubled down. It was just like, you want darkness? Here we go. Here's Marilyn Manson and people dying in porno films, and it's
I mean, I think at least the beginning of Fire Walk With Me is pretty hilarious. I like all the stuff with Stanley and Chet,
but it's dry comedy. It's not pine weasels biting people in the nose.
No, it's definitely not that. It's definitely not that.
But I'm just saying that like Lost Highway seemed to double down in the darkness. It was like, we're going to do, I mean, the whole thing is like, it begins on the dark road and then it fades into darkness. And then we come up and, they're already like, it begins. We don't even see Fred and Renee, like even remotely happy. They're already hating each other from the very first scene.
There's not really any, I mean, I just saw it. I don't remember anything really funny.
Even Richard Pryor isn't allowed to be funny in that movie.
I know. That's right.
Right? It's like, I'm going to cast Richard Pryor to just play a straight, non-comedic role, and I'm going to give him 3 lines. Right?
I always forget he's in that until I watch it. I'm like,
there is so much deleted footage from that movie. And I thought we totally would get it because he gave us Blue Velvet and Wild Hearts and Fire Walk With Me scenes. I thought, we're going to get it. nope, we're not getting it. So
maybe in the 8K version in 10 years.
Yeah, probably. But then when you look at like the straight story in Mulholland Drive, like as dark as Mulholland Drive is, there's a lot of light in it too. It's very balanced.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and then The Return is its own thing because that's obviously like the Black Lodge is out in the world now, and so everything is kind of I mean, there's lightness in it, but there's obviously with Dougie and all that stuff, but like it is dark in some aspects because the whole world's going to hell, basically. Anyway, Cream says Richard Pryor's presence always warms my heart. I believe that was the last film he made before he passed away too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I can't even imagine, because David Lynch was like on Charlie Rose, like explaining why he cast Richard Pryor in the part, and it's just like it's so funny to me. It's like I remember everyone's just like, because he shows up in the opening credits, Richard Pryor. I was like, Richard Pryor, and then it's like, it's almost like I wish he'd cast Mel Brooks in that part, like have him run around like Louis in Taxis, just screaming.
Mel Brooks hadn't been in any of the Lynch stuff, right?
No,
I feel like he should have put him in something.
Oh, absolutely.
He should have put him in some. I don't know.
Who would you have put him as? Do you think of a role that you would have put Mel Brooks in?
I don't know. I feel like he would end up just being Mel Brooks no matter what you put him in. I would have loved to put him as Sheriff Truman in The Return. Oh, that'd be pretty funny.
Like him reacting to Wally Brando.
What are you talking about, kid? I don't understand you.
Oh my god, that would have been hilarious. Anyway, back to Angelo. Do you have like favorite music that you remember off the top of your head?
I mean, I didn't know that story about the Mysteries of Love, but since Blue Velvet was like my first real like Lynch love, that one is definitely the one that sits with me probably the deepest. And then obviously all the Twin Peaks stuff, but
well, like that music,
maybe that's the cliche answer, but
that don 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 don. It's like they've just spied on Dorothy Valance, and they come out and Jeffrey opens the door for Sandy and she gets in the car, and it's very much like a 1950s young kids on a date, even though they just spying on this woman because her husband's ear got cut off. But the music changes. It's like don 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 don. You know what I mean? And then with the Frank music is just like this orchestration, like really, and then to mix it with the 50s music and stuff. This was in a way, one of the reasons why it felt very much like the first fully formed David Lynch movie is because Eraserhead is not on planet Earth, basically, right? I mean, it is, but it's not. The Elephant Man is in another time, right, in the 1800s. Dune is definitely not on Earth. And so Blue Velvet was the first time you could see a recognizable planet, right? It's like you had Jeffrey from the early 60s. Sandy's was from the 50s, right? Because if you look at the wide shot of her high school, I don't think any other girls are wearing pants.
Like
I think they're all in long dresses, right? Dorothy Valance is like some film noir from the 40s, right? Who knows where Frank Booth is from? I think he's from Out of the Blue, actually. I think Dennis Hopper thought he was still in Out of the Blue and came in and made the film. But it's like this whole thing of like different decades colliding with each other, and the music reflects that. And I can't even imagine Badalamenti first time working with David Lynch going, what the hell are we making? And then it all comes together.
It all
as
just
Blue
works.
Velvet.
I think that's why probably. I mean, I again love Twin Peaks music, but Blue Velvet just is most synchronous to me. It like, I don't know, it spoke to me the most. When I first watched it, I think that's what sold me on Lynch. Honestly,
yeah,
I was like, what is this? What am I watching? What am I hearing? And then it's like, then you get like the Robins are that scene with Mysteries of Love.
Well, it's like,
oh my god.
Without Blue Velvet, there is no Twin Peaks.
Right.
there's, I mean, Blue Velvet. I know Fire Walk with Me is the the Laura prequel sequel. Blue Velvet to me is the real prequel of Twin Peaks. I mean, it's obviously it's not because it's different characters, but it is sort of.
But it is.
It's the
Like a
small
spiritual
town.
prequel.
It's the logging community. It's the drug running. It's the it's the mystery. It's the surrealism. It's everything that Twin Peaks is, just in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I laughed Nightshade Holloway because he wrote Mel Brooks could have played Sting's part in Dune, and it made me think of that little like that when he comes out without a shirt and he's wearing that little like underwear thing. I just imagining Mel Brooks coming out like, oh my God, that would have been amazing. Gary Norris's Dark Lolita from Wild at Heart, absolutely one of the great tracks. Wild at Heart is fantastic. Obviously, I mean obviously we can go through. We talk about Twin Peaks all the time. Fire Walk with Me, it's just like obviously to begin it with the Fire Walk with Me theme, which was so shocking at the time because everyone expected it to begin with the Twin Peaks music, and we got this other thing. And that whole Deer Meadows section is all new original music, which was like, it was cool, but at the same time, it was like, well, this isn't the Twin Peaks thing I thought I was going to go see, but okay, cool. But then you thought, oh yeah, that's right, it's Deer Meadows. It should not sound like Twin Peaks. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then, but when you got to Laura's stuff, you get a little bit of the music, get the Laura theme, you get the Twin Peaks music, but then you also get a real indication where Angelo Badalamenti is like rapping all of a sudden. And it's like, what? He's rapping? And then that transitions into, I mean, as much as I love The Nightingale, as much as I love Into the Night, which is, I mean, astounding music. Questions in a World of Blue is astounding because it kind of is taking the Audrey's Prayer, Annie Cooper theme and turning it into a very tragic, sad song sung by Julie Cruz, which of course echoes episode 14 of the series when you get the double Julie Cruz music from the Industrial Symphony, which Lynch and Badalamenti wrote. He's one of those artists, Joey, where every time you hear something, you go, that might be your best thing. And then you hear something else, you go, no, that might be your best thing. Like, I love people like that, where it's like whatever you're listening to at the time or watching at the time, that's your favorite thing.
My favorite thing to do is if you're ever having a party and you wanna kind of dirty it up a bit, you put on the Pink Room music, and then that party, you're instantly in a dive bar somewhere. And everybody's.
I could be wrong, but I think David Lynch wrote that one.
He wrote that one? I mean, it kind of it's kind of similar to other stuff,
but it's also like after the first minute, it just kind of repeats for like 15 minutes. But I mean, look at The Return. I mean, he didn't. I mean, maybe he did more than I'm aware of, but like that whole scene with the giant Dido and Laura and the orb and all that, that's astounding music. When the orb comes in and they send it up, and that's astounding music. The restaurant scene with the Mitchum brothers and the piano, which sounds like it's just about to start playing the Laura theme, and then it, you know what I mean? It dovetails out of there, and then of course
blue balls the dark bit in that one.
Yeah, and then there's the Dark Space Low, which of course plays during the whole end credits, which is really sinister and dark and creepy and perfection. I mean, there's other music I'm sure in there, but like those were like the three kind of standouts as far as I'm aware. If there's another one that I'm forgetting, please throw it in the chat. But he's just one of those artists where I literally like, because we're bringing up the different music and it's just kind of like, no, I love that one. No, I love that one. No, I love that one.
Yeah, it's hard.
But I mean, I hate to say it because even though David Lynch does sound work, there, like I said, there is a huge leg of the table missing now from Lynch's work. And you can't get that back because he's gone. and it's like we can only do with what we have here. So I do hope Lynch is able to do whatever he wants to do, and and do it as best he can. But at the same time, though, it's like, all right, let me just talk about something depressing for a second. People have said to me, like there's really no chance for a season 4 now, right? Unless, of course, you're using unused tracks or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they've recorded a buttload of music for season 3 that never got used.
Yeah, I'm sure Badalamenti, he had that. I mean, just like you mentioned, he had that huge backlog just from season 1 and 2. Just imagine what he had that didn't even come out at all.
Right. So, but I do think that a huge part of the David Lynch aesthetic of what we think is a David Lynch film is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, he can move on and apply it because Tarantino. He had Sally Menke as his editor for all his films until she passed away. Then he had to go get another editor, and you're like, is it really a Tarantino film if Sally Menke's not editing it? Because obviously it's a that person brings a lot to the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously he was able to move on. Like I hope David Lynch is able to move on, but it's really sad to think that David Lynch could make another film and we're not going to see music composed by Angelo Badalamenti on it anymore. Unless, of course, there's like unused tracks that we don't know. Gary North reminds me of when Cooper leaves his family at the casino. That was a good music track. Max Power says, this is sad, but it's great to have this. This is primarily why we're doing this here. And thank you for watching. And if you guys have not subscribed to this channel, please do, because I'd like to get to 4,000 before the end of the year. I have less than 200 left to get. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Let's see. NJ Flyer says, I can rattle off as many favorite musical pieces of Twin Peaks. I can't rattle off favorite scenes. R.I.P. Angelo, what a loss. And you know what's so funny is a lot of your favorite scenes from Twin Peaks are probably because of the music too. I mean,
will always double down on that.
And the music is wall to wall in season 1 and season 2. And even more in Fire Walk With Me. I mean, like Fire Walk With Me feels almost like like when Spike Lee made Mo Better Blues and Jungle Fever. Like it is literally wall to wall. There's like I don't think there's. Is there a moment in Fire Walk With Me where people are? Well, I guess there is when Laura's talking to James in the bathroom before she drops the towel. But there's like very little like anything that isn't supported by music in Fire Walk With Me.
I mean, it works because you're constantly elevating, you're constantly moving the emotion, and then when that music's not there, you feel it. Like you feel it in the return. For most of it, that music's not there. There's something wrong. This is not the same world. It isn't right.
Which is, I think, another reason why the return sparsed them out, because it's supposed to feel like the world is off its axis because the doppelganger's out. Black Lodge is kind of consuming everything. Anyway, Andrea says, I totally agree with you guys. The music of Badalamenti is a fundamental part of Lynch's art. It became that way. I mean, because obviously he didn't have Badalamenti for Eraserhead. In fact, the first time I watched Eraserhead, I remember thinking, oh, I don't like this. Where's Badalamenti's music? And then I realized, oh, he hadn't met him yet. Right? But I was 14 years old, guys. I was 14. Okay. I just thought that Badalamenti kind of came along with him like the whole time, you know.
We need those angelic synths.
Right. And then of course Elephant Man is fantastic. And Dune, I mean Toto, the music for Dune is great. But he didn't really have that kind of relationship with John Morris and Toto as he would with Badalamenti, you know. And Alan Split, you know, who had been with him, who had done a lot of the sound work with him up until Blue Velvet, when he passed away, that's when Badalamenti kind of took over. And so it was almost like it was like crossing ships in the night, right? Alan Split passed away, and then Badalamenti was there and rode off with Lynch for the next.
And do you know when he started working with Hurley? Was that just for the when he started doing the music stuff?
I could be wrong because he was working with John Neff for the longest time, but I could be wrong. But I think Dean Hurley I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to kind of place it because I think he started working them in the early 2000s. I could be wrong because like I thought that Sabrina, because I was always in the impression because Sabrina is listed in the credits of Inland Empire. I was always under the impression that he met Sabrina when Mary Sweeney was kind of bowing out, right? No, I believe Sabrina has been involved since Fire Walk with Me, or if not, I think before. I think even in season 2.
Oh,
so I mean, like,
been there
like
since...
he cultivates people for the longest time, and like Mary Sweeney, who edited Fire Walk with Me, she was Dwayne Dunham's assistant on Blue Velvet. So it wasn't like he like picked out a name out of a hat and says, "Okay, you're going to edit Fire Walk with Me." Like he had been working with these people for years.
Yeah,
and I love that. I love that idea of
too.
taking a family with you. So let's see. Max Power says recently acquired Twin Peaks season 2 and more soundtrack, need to re-listen. Yeah, I mean they have a lot of that stuff online because a lot of it is out of print now. But I mean, I love the little music that like you just never thought you would hear. You know what I mean? Like the music they never put on the soundtracks until recently was like a lot of all the Harold Smith motifs, which I love all that stuff.
That's on that vinyl they put out.
Right.
I guess B-sides to season 2 or just a season 2 vinyl.
Right. All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up, unfortunately, because I have to go take my kid off the TV from watching Muppet Babies from too long. But I mean, it's a sad day. It's a horrible day in many aspects, but I'm glad we were able to. I reached out to Joey, so we got to do a show because this is the kind of thing we got to do. I mean, this is what we're known for here on this channel, amongst other things. But we do the live streams. So if you like David Lynch discussions and Twin Peaks discussions, hopefully we have better news for you coming.
I hope so.
Because the last episode I did was the Al Strobel passed away episode. Now we're doing the Angelo Badalamenti passed away episode. I'm hoping that nobody else passed away for a long, 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 long time.
I hope so.
But I did want to do this show because I felt like, there's a lot of us that have a lot of things to say and we don't have an outlet for it. I mean, there's only so much you can say on Twitter, and it's being blocked right now. Half the stuff I can't even see. I keep seeing, like I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene's post, but I don't see anybody else's post. And Doug Putt's gone, and
right.
The Facebook pages are sometimes
take it or leave it,
and so it's like this is our home, this is our channel, this is where we all belong. So 2023, guys. I know I've been saying this for a while, but now that the film is done, 2023 is when I'm going to be putting 110% back in this channel. It's hard because I have a 4-year-old and he's everywhere and he misses his dad if I'm gone for more than 15 minutes. So it's it is hard to do some of these live streams like we used to, these 3-4 hour live streams. And also there wasn't a lot to talk about because Wisteria Unrecorded Night, that hasn't been a thing in a long time. And honestly, we talked that thing up so much and it never happens.
Yeah. I think my top video for the year was about all those rumors. So who knows? Maybe next.
I got so angry that all those videos were on my channel, just hogging up so much. Not that YouTube cares about the space, but I cared about looking at all these random Wisteria Unrecorded Night videos. That I basically put it together as one giant 8-hour long video, and I broke it up by the date, so you can see us getting really excited and then really deflated. And I call it the rise and fall of Wisteria, and it ends with you and me going. I think the last thing you see is you and me going, "Yeah, we'll talk about this when there's actually news." That's it. After 8 straight hours. So.
Hey, we got excited. What are you going to do?
Well, that was the thing. People sometimes would get really upset with me in the Twin Peaks fan community because they'd be like, well, you're speculating. And I'm like, that's fun. I mean, we're not saying this is news. We're speculating. But, they got mad because I was getting people's hopes up and stuff like that. But I'm like, we're having fun. We
This
have no
isn't
other
hard
outlet.
hitting news. This is all speculation and theorizing and discussion.
Right. But oh man, people got really mad. I mean, I would get an earful saying like, "This isn't news," or like when I said the thing about that I was hearing rumors that there could be a new series of Twin Peaks and they were going to split it maybe into 2 seasons, which I thought they were going to do with season 3 because it was 18. I thought they were going to do 9 and 9, right? Imagine if the woodsman had walked off into the night and we heard that horse whinny, and that was the end of season 3. And then we had to wait a little bit, and then we got season 4. So anyway, they gave us the whole big thing in one chunk. I'm very thankful for that. And you know what? And one of these days, like Dethroner says, didn't one of the actors say Wisteria rumors were half true? Apparently, Laura Dern came out and said, David Lynch always working on stuff, etc. But some of that there was more truth than there was than we may know. One of these days, the news is going to come out what it was going to be, and we are either going to be completely wrong or vindicated.
Yeah, we'll find out. Maybe someday.
They're gonna tell us someday what it was. I mean, they're not gonna just. How can they let us go? Without knowing why every living actor of Twin Peaks was putting out wisteria plants, and then Sherilyn Fenn going, "I didn't know. I thought they were just pretty plants." Like, come on! Every single actor was putting out these pictures of these purple plants. Smarty Pants says great music like Badalamenti turns a show or a movie into something like a Broadway show. Brooklyn Ann says thanks for doing this so we can all come together and mourn and reminisce. The Throner says thanks for doing this, guys. Needed this very much. It's like a warm embrace. Evan says lost the music and the voice of Twin Peaks with Julie and Angelo. Dream Dystopia says there is no season 4. Thanks for bumming me out. There will always be a season 4, even if it's only in our heads.
Yes.
We are meant to be the dreamer, and we dream the dream and live inside the dream, and we go on.
In about a decade, you'll be able to tell an AI video robot to create Twin Peaks season 4, and you'll have it in 15 minutes, and it'll. You know what somebody
needs to do, and I'd be more than happy to help you write it. I would love someone to do like little 5 to 10 minute Twin Peaks animations.
That'd be cool.
Like literal like animation, not South Park cardboard stuff, but like mood and texture, yes, or something. Even computer drawn. I mean, I'm just saying, like you could do it. I see these amazing artists out there. Just scan it and start moving it because I'd love to see that stuff. That would be amazing if you could show me a picture or a little video of Agent Cooper walking across, somewhere, not in the Black Lodge, somewhere else.
No, somewhere else. Down
the hallway of the sheriff's station. I would love to see that kind of stuff. And if you've not seen my film Queen of Hearts, for right now, there's a off the book non-canon season 4. I guess.
Season 4, season 1.5, season 2.5.
Yeah. I mean, it's like people ask me all the time, like, where would you stick Queen of Hearts? It's like, well, it takes place between season 2 and season 3, but you kind of need to see season 3 to understand parts.
It's a little.
So I think you got to watch it after everything, and then after you read the books, watch the series, then watch it.
That's right. That's another thing that people need to keep in mind. If you're going to watch it, there's a lot of stuff from the books in there too, so it'll just help you kind of understand a little bit more.
Anyway, this has been a lot of fun. Well, not really. It's sad, but it's been fun to see you.
Fun and sad.
And I mean, to be honest, I never met Angelo Badalamenti. I never talked to Angelo Badalamenti. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about him. And I'll tell you one thing, which it just popped back in my head. I do know somebody who fairly close to people Angelo Badalamenti trusts and knows. And this person told me, I wish I had met you when you were doing Queen of Hearts. I probably could have gotten him to do a little bit of music for the film. Well, thanks for telling me that after my film is done, because I would have loved an official Annie theme. But anyway, I will continue to live inside that dream and imagine what that could have been like. But
another reality,
another timeline, Joey, another timeline. But anyway, it's I mean, it's sad, but I'm happy to be able to talk it with you guys. And hopefully we come back under better circumstances.
Oops.
I have 4 Twin Peaks Star of the Days that I need to do, that I've been wanting to do before the end of the year. I don't know if I'm going to get to it, but I'm going to do my best to get to it. And every time I go, okay, this is, I'm thinking about maybe the day or two I'll do it. Then something like this happens. And it's like, okay, well, obviously I have to talk about this because this is more important. But I have 4 videos that I want to do that kind of like are like a summation of everything right now. So look for those in the near future. But hopefully we have better, what does David Lynch say? Clear skies and blue skies.
Blue skies and golden sunshine all the way. Something like that.
That's all I want for the rest of us, for the rest of the year, if not eternity. It's, because that's it's a better way to go. But anyway, we're really sad. Angelo Badalamenti's gone. But he did leave a tremendous amount of music behind.
Go listen to some Badalamenti, guys.
Yeah, it's if you don't have the CDs, it's all over online. Just type in whatever you want to hear. It's everywhere. So check it out. All right, Joey. Tuesday's Child says Twin Peaks is over. We've lost too much in that world. It's wonderful as it sits. We haven't lost everything, but each time the leg is getting a little bit more wobbly, and this is a big wobble here. So fingers crossed, keep the faith that I'm sure we're going to hear. I think Lynch will probably even do a short or something like that using some unused tracks of Badalamenti.
That'd be cool. At least that.
I don't think we've heard the end of Badalamenti's music, because the guy had, it's like when John Hughes died and they figured out the guy had like 300 scripts that have not been produced. It's like,
yeah, I'm sure he has music all over the place. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
We're still putting out Prince music.
That's true. Oh, and Tupac keeps releasing new albums like on the yearly. So,
Oh, right. Yeah. That's interesting.
All right. So make sure to follow Joey at his YouTube channel and Instagram. He's been posting pictures of his girlfriend lately. So I'm like, I can go on Instagram. I'm like, what is this? You're like either walking in the woods. I felt like I was watching some sort of like kidnapping video. And and then there's another picture of like her like waking up on the bed. And I'm just like, what Joey, what's going on? You're being like Mr. Photographer over here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm trying to do everything. It's a lot of work.
Well, I think you're very talented. And when's your like 20th book coming out? Because I know you're probably on your 20th book by now.
No, I need to finish some of them. I haven't done anything this year, I feel like. So maybe next year.
Brooklyn Ann says, I would love for a documentary on Badalamenti. That would be cool. Maybe they'll do that after they finish the Log Lady one.
I know. What time? What year is it?
Hey, it's been confirmed that it's it's a mini series. It's not a documentary.
Yeah, I saw the video. I think I backed it way back when they launched it.
No, but that's really exciting because I kept thinking it was going to be a 90-minute kind of thing or maybe a 2-hour thing. Kind of like what I Don't Know Jack was.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that it's a huge thing, and it's like what 3 was it 3 or maybe 4? No, I can't remember. It's like between 3 and 4 hours long, and it's going to go into all aspects. So it's going to go into like Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and all that. It's fantastic. Great.
Give me all of it. Yeah.
So they made this documentary about the Log Lady. It was supposed to be a documentary, and then they interviewed so many people and got so much footage and stuff from everyone that loves Catherine Coulson that they were able to make a huge documentary, and they're cutting up into 3 parts. So it's going to be a mini series. They don't know yet where it's going to be shopping around just yet, as far as I'm aware. But that's going to be exciting because I can't wait to get a physical copy of that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Emery says, it's always great to see Cameron and Joey collab on a video. Thanks, gentlemen, for doing this group retrospective. Really enjoyed it. Here's the issues. I have a 4-year-old. Joey just moved in a new place. And he's 3 hours ahead. So it's like trying to organize everything. That's what. But 2023, we'll probably end up doing more stuff.
Yeah. I'm always down for stuff.
And as for me, obviously, subscribe to this channel. That's very important. And then you can also follow us on Patreon, Facebook. Well, yeah, I have to redo the Facebook page. But Twitter, I'm there until Elon basically burns the house down. Same. Instagram, and then obviously you can email us anytime. So anyway, it's been a real pleasure, everybody. Very sad to report this news, but I'm so glad we were able to talk about it. And all right, guys, have a wonderful night. Thumbs up the video, and we will see you soon. Take it easy. Take care. Bye-bye.